I really want to make something. I would like to make a holy water fount. You know, like those ones that you hang on the wall and there's a little like cup for holy water, and then you dip your fingers in and then you do the quick blessing, and then it's just a nice little piece of art on the wall. Well, I really want to make one of those and have the theme be Psalm 43, like the Hart yearns. Isn't that a cool idea? I went to Bookfest Abbey many years ago, and they have a really nice garden. Well, they've got lots of very nice gardens, but in one particular garden that I went to, there is a sculpture of a deer leaning down over this nice little pond, nice little engraved pond, and on the edges of the pond it is Psalm 43. Like the heart yearns for the founts of living water, so my soul yearns for you, O God. So, while the iron is hot, I'd like to take you through the process of this. So, I'm going to start drawing first of all. Every good idea starts from the drawing board. So, let's get started. So I began with gathering a lot of images of the deer and then sketching out different poses just to really get to know this creature that I'd eventually be sculpting. I also gathered different images of holy water founts just to give me some inspiration of what kind of shape that I was going for. So then I sketched out a thumbnail sketch of my design that I'd like. So you can see Psalm 42 goes all around the top. Also around the top is like an arch of flowers, floral foliage, the kind that you maybe like see in gardens, like an arch of roses. So the idea behind that is that if this spring of water that the deer is yearning for is symbolic of the source of all life, then all around that it's going to be really fertile. And so this is kind of like illustrated in lots of floral things. So I've scanned in my thumbnail. I'm on a graphic design software and I am going to make this my template. So I'm going to blow it up to the size that I actually want, the actual real life size. And then also this gives me a chance of wrapping around the font that I like, just to make sure that it's exact and that I can then use that as a template. So I didn't really know what font to choose, whether to go for like traditional, medieval, or stick to my branding. Eventually I just decided to just stick to the font that I've chosen for the Like the Hart brand, because I didn't want to be too try-hard with anything else. And then I printed off the template to the size that I wanted, and it's a weird colour because my printer had run out of black ink. So now I'm wrapping around some wire, because the idea is that wire is going to help guide me through the process, and it's also going to provide some structure for the actual 3D element of the font. So right now I'm wrapping the wire around the font, knowing that the foliage is going to come out further than the wire, which is good because I don't want the wire to be seen at the end. This was actually kind of a finicky process, just trying to get the wire straight and trying to clamp that nice little rise thing on the actual lip of the holy water fount, and also trying to get everything, exact and center. It actually took a lot longer than it looks. This is my second time in doing it because I didn't have the right length of wire. So now that I have my wire structure, I'm going to roll out my brand new Sculpey clay like a nice sheet of cookie dough and make it fit the size of my wire template. It was really tough to roll and I had to warm it up with my hands quite a bit, but basically I was trying to achieve an even thickness, which was kind of difficult. So once I'm happy with my thickness, I'm going to place my wire template over the clay and trim the edges, and then use a tool to flatten the margin around the wire, and then fold it up over the wire template. And then I'm just smoothing everything over to make it nice and flat. And also I'm using my sketchbook as a board, but I don't really recommend that because I got it covered in this horrible sticky clay putty. So I won't be doing that again. I think at this stage the clay was really, really soft, and so less handling was probably better, because I think that it just ended up warping slightly and getting my fingerprints all over it, and I didn't know that at the time, so I would just probably leave it in the future and not worry too much about the detail yet. So now I'm rolling up more clay to serve as extra thickness and also to make sure that the wire is really sandwiched between those two sides of clay so that it's like secure and doesn't bulge out. And then I can't bear the stickiness of my poor sketchbook any longer, so I am using a nice, fresh, clean sheet of baking paper to work on this time. So now I have a really nice flat surface. Just with a quick glance at my design, I'm now gonna work on the background, working from the back and outwards. So I'm rolling out lots of different ideas for trees, I guess. And this is completely impromptu, improvised. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just having fun with making things out of clay. So I'm gonna start with a really big tree trunk, and then there's gonna be a little spindly tree in the background just for different texture. Also, the clay is very sticky at this point, so it's kind of difficult to work with, but I'm doing my best. I'm just going with it and having fun. This nice little twisty thing that I did, I don't really know what I was thinking with it, I just thought it looked cool, but it ended up just being covered by the deer and with the foliage, so it never saw the light of day. But now I'm trying to mimic bark by rolling out clay into little tiny sausages, and then smoothing over with a tool and just trying to, again, replicate some kind of bark texture. I think a lot of this process that I'm doing right now is very ad-lib, which is good, because I am not a sculptor by trade yet, who knows. So I don't really know the professional techniques, so I'm literally just winging it the whole time. But because of that, I'm noticing that it's sometimes a bit rough and maybe sometimes a bit too try-hard. So if I was to do this again, I'd kind of own the simplicity more, not try too hard, and be a bit more minimalist. So you can see a close-up of the tree bark, which is maybe nice, or maybe simpler would be nicer. I don't know, I'm still thinking about it. So this was the hard part, forming the heart. So here's me thinking that I could effortlessly just form the deer and it would look perfect. It's kind of living the dream at this point. But then I had to revert back to my template and just trace the shape. So here you're about to witness an artist's temper tantrum. Everyone has one, I think. I just did not like what I'd done at all. I thought it looked more like a frog, and I'd spent however long on it, but I was just like, you know what, it looks nothing like I wanted it to look. And it was a bit, well anyway, I regret it, let's just say that. I wish I'd kept it because I'm not completely enamoured with what came after it either. Maybe I would have preferred that, but that's what happened. So it's time to start again, and this time I'm just doing it completely freehand and using a different reference. So at this point everything looked okay, but it wouldn't fit. It was too big to go on the base, according to my design. So tragically I had to work out a way of trimming it down, making it a tiny bit smaller, but still maintaining the shape, which was kind of hard. And success. And now I'm just trying to form the head and put that on at the right place. So I was thinking a bit about how to do the foliage, where to even start, and I decided to, you can see I kind of changed my mind about the size of the discs. I decided to form a load of clay discs and then put them on as like a really rough first sketch, I guess. First sketch of clay, and then gradually build up the forms. So now I'm just making sure that all the discs are affixed properly to the base. And while I've got it in my hands, I did the screw cavity for the back so I can mount it on the wall at some point. Now I'm doing the groove for the text, and I do have to refer to my template at this point just to make sure that everything's exact and it aligns. And now I'm actually doing the banner strip that the text will go exactly onto. And so I didn't know this was going to work, but it did, which is really nice. So I just molded it to the shape of my template and then traced the template and cut it out. And then I decided to trace the text as well, just to kill two birds with one stone. And I used my super sharp pointy tool for that, which I realised a blunt pencil did a much better job in the end. So now I'm taking tiny little bits of clay and positioning them over the banner just to give some overlap. So this is my first attempt of doing some kind of foliage. Or is it foliage? I think it's foliage, and I've been pronouncing it wrong this whole time. Awkward. So I'm doing a technique here that I can only really describe as piercing the clay and moving it around a bit with my less pointy tool. I'll give you a close-up in a second, and somehow this just creates a kind of leaf mirage. Now I know it's mirage and not mirage. So I'm just working my way all the way around, just kind of trying to manipulate this clay. Use the magic word texture, adding a lot of texture around. So I
had a look at it and I thought, more foliage. I just wanted more bulk. Whether that was a good idea or not, I'm not really sure. But I think it turned out pretty nice. So I ended up making a bunch of these tiny little clay balls, which took absolute forever, and now my thumbs are super hench. They just reminded me of polystyrene balls, you know? I just really just pushed them all around the top of the arch. And I underestimated how many you need, because there were a lot. So I was half tempted to just leave them as is and just have like a pebble arch, like a stone archway. But I was like, you know what, that wasn't the original inspiration. What kind of symbolism would it mean if I just did like a stone arch coming out of the water? So I just decided to go the whole way, and the arduous but quite therapeutic task of working my way around and making foliage out of my tiny little balls of clay. So I really wanted the deer to be in front of this floral arch, and so I'm just adding more muscle to the glutes. And here's just a close-up of the effect of my weird prodding of my pointy tool. So now it's time to make the pocket, now that I've done as much detail as I want to on the background. So because the top half was so heavy, I was kind of worried that maybe over time the bottom half would be weak and it wouldn't be able to be supported. And so I'm just adding an extra layer just to give it more thickness and more strength. That's the theory anyway. So I'm smoothing it over, making sure that all of it is adhered, and then I'm trying to, if you know what a coil pot is, you might know what I mean. So I'm making basically lots of sausages, and then I'm gonna join them all together, spread them with my butter knife here, and then use that to sculpt the pocket thing for the holy water vessel. And I guess my plan with this was to have some kind of nice pattern to the vessel. But as I was spreading, the clay was so soft that, well, I lost a lot of the shape that I was hoping for. A lot of the texture that I was hoping for, so it didn't really work. But in any case, it worked, it just didn't work as amazingly as I hoped. It was quite a nice, satisfying part of the process because I just felt like it just looked like fondant icing, you know, royal icing, fondant icing. It was kind of nice. It was like pastry. So I'm just kind of trying to form it and adhere it as well as I can to the main structure. Especially this is important because I really want the actual sculpture to be watertight, so everything has to be molded together really smoothly. And it took forever. I also, as I was working on it, the pocket thing became more like the helm of a boat, it seemed like, you know, with that pointy thing in the middle. And I thought, you know what, I have enough symbolism here, I can't stretch and have some kind of boat symbolism as well as the fount of living water. Like, what is that supposed to mean? Like a boat that's like full of water? That's not very good. So I ended up just kind of chopping that off and smoothing it out. So no boats here. Also, there was a little nugget at the end, which I thought looked kind of cool, so I left it on. Even though it wasn't part of my original design, which, I don't know. Just doing the last finishing touches, putting a couple of birds on the foliage, you know, source of life and all, where the birds love to hang out. And then I'm doing my scroll for the psalm number. I'm just really cleaning it all up, adjusting the shape even more to make it more elegant because I thought it looked too clunky. And I'm inscribing my initials in the back. And finally, just some last minute details. And then it's the moment of truth and it's time to put it in the oven. So I cooked it, baked it at 130 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes. Here is the finished project. I'm not really happy with the paint job, gotta be honest.
So I was just going to keep with like a cream ivory look, but then I just wanted to see what it would look like with full colour. And my acrylic paints, either they're rubbish or the Sculpey clay just doesn't really take them well, because they were so opaque and horrible. And I tried 2 different brands. But anyway, don't look at the paint job, look at the sculpture. So also I made a massive mistake. Did anyone notice before this point? So I was like just not thinking, I guess. I get confused with psalm numberings anyway, because some Bibles there's 151 psalms, but in other Bibles there's 150 psalms. I can't remember which Bible has which. I think it's just whether Psalm 9 is split into Psalm 9a and 9b, or whether it's all just 9, I think. I actually can't remember. But anyway, I was confused, and as I was writing down the psalm number, I wrote down Psalm 43, not Psalm 42. What was I thinking? And also, just to add insult to injury, when I was painting it, I must have been holding it wrong, and then that bit chipped off. But it's okay. You know what? It is okay. I'm just going to add some Sculpey to that. And then I'm going to cover Sculpey with this right back in 42. And then I'm hoping to make a mould out of this. Silica mould. And make either plaster casts or resin casts. Maybe sell them in my hopefully growing shop. These and many other projects I will add to my to-do list. Hope that inspires you to make your own nice creations. Starting with sketches, going into maybe wire sculptures, going into sculpiness, and thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna go see if I'm gonna go cough. I'm gonna go see if this fits on a wall somewhere. That will be the real moment of truth. If you like, you can follow me on Instagram for a little behind the scenes things like that, and to see if I can find a place that this can hang. So that's all for now. I'll catch you later, and happy Lent. I don't think this is any good. I don't think you can tell this is called Psalm 43. You meant to say, no, it's really good, Ray, don't worry. It's okay, I don't want compliments, I want the truth.